Hello everyone and welcome back to CK3. This time I am here with a 1066 interesting character start guide. So these are nations that are independent rulers who it's quite fun to play as at this date, either because they're stable, they have difficulties, or in general you've got some nice interesting challenges. So the first one is a bit of a cop-out, to be honest. Playing over the throne of the English. Play those nations that are involved with it. So that means William of Normandy, who would later be the conqueror, Harold Haraldra of Norway, and then the King Harold Godwinson of England. Basically, if you play as either of those three, your main goal is to gain control of the throne of England and then deal with all the instability that comes. Harold is outnumbered. Harold Haraldra has to cross a long distance. William is the kind of underdog, even though historically he succeeded. He does get some advantages. Either way, playing as one of those three for the throne of England is a very fun thing. I'm counting William in this as an independent ruler because if he succeeds, you're going to be independent as England, and you're going to succeed or fail within the first 10-15 years. So, next one, playing as the Holy Roman Emperor. So, the reason this is fun is you start out with the largest empire here. I believe the Seljuks might rival you in size. Nope, you're still bigger. Therefore, you start as the largest empire in the game. However, the Holy Roman Empire is not necessarily holy, nor Roman, nor truly an empire. It is very internally divided with tons of different faiths. And right now, you're all Catholic. Won't have to deal with the Protestant succession, but you do have to deal with the fact that you're an emperor ruling over a bunch of dukes who don't necessarily get along very well and are of different backgrounds. And overall, your empire is very large, rather unwieldy, and you're going to spend a lot of the time just keeping control of it and consolidating your power really before you expand. But it can be fun. Yeah, you get some nice starting stuff. I do recommend, if you get the ability to do so, you try and get control of the county of Aachen. Mainly because it's got its unique building up there, which is a very useful thing to have. In fact, you could even move your kingdom there if you wanted to, given time. Next one is in Iberia. So, historically, Alfonso of Leon was the kind of victor in the entire dynasty, Jimina Hamina dynasty issue. I don't know how to say it properly. But the actual easiest one to play here is Sancho of Castile, because he's the heir to two different kingdoms at this point. So if you can murder or they die, you'll gain them. If not, you can go play as Alfonso here and start murdering people, or this guy murdering people to gain the throne. Either way, you do that, you'll consolidate quite a bit of a power base up here in the corner. There's some interesting events, and then you can continue the Reconquista of Iberia, which is always a fun thing to do. It'll take you a good portion of the game. These Muslim states are not to be underestimated, so have fun with that. On the other hand, if you want to do it, reverse the Reconquista, you can play as the Almoravids. Historically, they were called upon to aid the Muslims of Iberia, but they ended up actually invading. They're quite interesting because they're very large and very powerful at the start. They're a long way before forming an empire. The Maghreb Empire is probably one of the hardest empires in the game to form. So, in fact, you're almost better off invading Hispania. Be aware they are a clan. They are Sunni. Some of the lands they're going into different religions and stuff, but it's quite possible to expand into them and have fun. If you don't want to do that, you can always try playing as Granada and regaining the area, because you do have unique buildings in the Granada area. So have fun with that. Those are the best ones in that area to play if you want to play Muslim. Next one is over here is the Seljuks. You could also try the Byzantines, but you are at war. The Seljuks are huge, they are powerful, and they're probably not going to stay stable for more than a couple generations, just due to the sheer amount of differing religions and cultures and just generalness of their empire. But at the start, they can be quite fun. You can really do some damage to the Byzantines, invading them, and trying to replicate the historic expansion of the Turkish people into this area, which would later culminate with the Sultanate of Rome and later the Ottoman empires. If you do not want to do that, you also can have the fun of trying to conquer the rest of the Arabian Empire. You've got the Fatimids up here, which are another one on the list here. So this is the next one. The Fatimids are Shia rather than Sunni, which means they don't have a ton of friends at this point in time. Even their lands aren't particularly happy. They only control a tiny bit amount of their faith, but they control Egypt, and anyone who underestimates the Egyptian region really hasn't been paying attention to history. They've got a good start in the sense that they're independent and a king. They've got other problems. They're in debt. People around them don't like them. But it is possible for them to diplomatically vassalize their way south into some of these Coptic and other areas. It takes work. Possible. It's fun. It's a bit of a challenge if the Seljuks come for you. My experience, they didn't come for me. They went after the Byzantines and then they kind of splintered apart internally. Could be dangerous though, but also high reward. Definitely one of the funner Shia starts to play as. The next one, we're actually going to go down here to the area of Abyssinia, but we're actually going to talk about Aksum here, because if you play as Aksum, you are independent and you are Jewish. I believe at this point you are the only independent Jewish. Yes, the rest I believe are in fact controlled by Tengri and will get converted away pretty soon. So if you want to play Jewish at 1066, this is probably your best area. Although, with the ease of converting in CK3, you could kind of do stuff anywhere. Hard start, though, because Abyssinia is right on your borders, and they kind of want your lands. Thankfully, this area is a little bit more feudal than it was at the 867 start date, but it's still got a lot of problems with differing cultures, religions, and tribal lords in the area. So just be aware. It is a bit of a struggle. Next one, we're actually going to head all the way over to the Cholas of India. Historically, the Cholas were quite successful in expanding. They do have a bit of a struggle towards the start. Their expansion routes have been blocked off by these guys here, but they can expand up here. Historically, they did well, so you can have some fun with that. They get the Tamil starting culture, which means they get some more. They have a great power in terms of getting trade ports that help them build up to increase levies and control, which is quite fun. The army is also tougher, and they also can get a lot of money from Republican vassals, which also makes them fun to play. Let's see. The next one, we're up here in Novgorod. So the Rikurid lands up here have splintered, and Novgorod is probably a fun one to play out of them. You're more on the northern side of things of the Russian culture group. In terms of religion, you're the most northern Orthodox in the game. And it's pretty easy to expand into lands controlled by the rest of your dynasty. You could also make an argument to play as Ruthenia here. I found Novgorod a little bit more fun, just because you can also expand into pagan lands a lot faster than they can expand into fellow Christian lands since you can do holy wars. It's up to you, though. Have fun. In general, they're all similar, except for this guy who's relatively weak compared to the others. Novgorod, though, quite fun. Also, you get the Russian stuff. I can't remember if you have access to the Viking stuff. Probably don't. If you do, though, it's worth using. Otherwise, have fun conquering stuff. You can go on to form the Empire of Russia with pretty relative ease. If you conquer your relative lands, you'll be pretty close. And the final one is probably one of the harder ones. It's down here as the Zirid Sultanate, or the Emirate at this point in time. The reason these guys are interesting to play is they start out as the king of this area, which means, get that bonus for starting. Unfortunately, the religious situation in the area is not particularly great. There's some people you can probably vassalize. The culture is, as you can see, a bit of a mess. Your culture here is not the same as the other ones here. You could do a divergent culture with the Maghrebi, I believe. And, you kind of have a little bit of time before anyone gets your way. Be aware, though, that sometimes sometimes the Catholics like invading the Muslim lands up here with crusades and stuff. I wouldn't worry too much about the Almoravids or these guys over here. The Fatimids are going to be concerned with the whole Seljuks and their collapse. These guys, probably your biggest rival in the area because you don't control a lot of lands. But if you don't want to play as them, play as these guys, and conquering them basically day one because of how much larger you are is also very possible to do. So that's kind of the 10, more like 17 nations, I think, overall that are fun to play. Next one I'll do on nations within other nations, so non-independent rulers that are interested to play at 1066. See you all then. Bye for now.